All right. Welcome back to the Cross Up Podcast. We have our wonderful guest, Daquan, back from the previous week. We didn't get enough of him, so we needed him to come back, give us his opinion on this wonderful topic that we're going to talk about today. But first, we'll give him a chance to reintroduce himself, just on the off chance you missed last week's episode. So, Daquan, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. So, I'm Daquan. Coming from being a Marine Corps veteran, worked over at Gearbox, did some QA over there, done indie development for a total of like 5 years. And then I was the operations producer on Warzone for about 2 years. And now here I am.
There it is. So if you have any complaints about Warzone over the last few years, you know who to now message.
Not at all.
All of them went to him.
All of them went to him, yeah.
Every single ticket.
And of course, like always, we have our wonderful co-hosts. We got Jeremy over here. And then we got Chris as well.
Morning.
And so we'll go ahead and start off this episode by talking about some of the gaming news that's kind of been going on. It hasn't been a crazy week. It's been like a lot tamer because we don't have anything crazy like Gamescom and things of that nature. I fucking couldn't think of the word. Thank you. But right now, like Chris mentioned to me earlier today, apparently there's a Black Ops beta going on right now. I'll be honest, completely missed it. Had no idea. But at the same time, I'm not interested, so I wouldn't be on it anyways.
I've been watching TP pro player playing over like yesterday. No, Friday. I've been watching him Friday.
How's it look?
I think it looks okay. I'm still not sold on playing it. Obviously, I'm gonna play the campaign because I like the campaign of Call of Duty. But for like actually multiplayer in Warzone, I'm still retired.
Listen, it's my favorite time of the year whenever a new Call of Duty comes out and all the people that used to play it when they were teenagers or younger come out and they can't wait to complain about what's wrong with this one, how washed it is, how the movement makes no sense.
The way people play is fucking trash.
My favorite one is when they immediately go like, man, imagine getting off of work and having to deal with this. And it's like, my guy, you said it yourself. This is not the game for you.
No,
this is not a game for you.
You're never going to learn.
Yeah.
And then they keep buying it every year.
Yeah,
I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm done.
Pretty much.
Call of Duty ain't for me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Game Pass.
You don't even have to.
You don't even have to pay
This weekend is the closed beta. Next weekend is the open beta. So I will actually like try out next weekend to see how I actually feel about it.
You can then tell me how it is because I'm not gonna try it. And then something else that was shown this weekend or this week, I should say, is Atlas had like a showcase. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch it, but I did catch the gameplay or whatever they showed off for Metaphor Refantasio, and that game looks phenomenal.
The game looks great.
Daquan
won't like it, but
Daquan won't like it.
I see. What is it? Like, what
it's do you know Atlas as a company, right? They do a lot of they do like Persona. They did Shin Megami Tensei. They did Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm a big fan of those games. I'm very much JRPG kind of, some dating sim elements, things of that nature. I'll be honest, I haven't looked too deeply into this one because I kind of just want to buy it and play it. So I only like kind of peeked at what they showed off. But gameplay wise, it looks sick. I mean, I'm always going to be down for a JRPG. So we'll see how this one kind of turns out. It's definitely not for everyone. I mean, like trying to recommend like a game like Persona to people is always kind of rough because like quote unquote the tutorial is like 2-3 hours long.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. So
it looks pretty from a distance. Great UI, but I'm like,
pretty much.
Like, I'm glad you enjoy it.
Right, pretty much. That's usually
I'm
how it
happy
goes.
for you. Yeah, like good for you, bud.
And then I guess alongside the same Japanese games, Blue Protocol, which is a game that I was super excited about and I've been waiting for years, is being shut down and we are no longer getting a global release. It is officially...
What is that?
Blue Protocol is a Japanese MMO anime style that came out 2019, 18, somewhere around there. It's been out for a few years now, right? At least
it's been a minute.
Did they give a reason for shutting down?
I think
was it like corporate scape?
No, it was like in the realm of I don't think that they could find its proper place in the MMO space. Like they couldn't figure out what to really do with it. So they're
Yeah,
like they didn't want to launch it globally without having that type of
like
stuff figured out.
either their niche, or they just basically didn't think they'd be able to
Yeah.
compete in the world of MMOs to have like a consistent player base to where it makes sense.
I mean, with WoW,
Pretty decent.
14, Guild Wars 2. I mean, that's
And that's
Oh,
not
Elder
even
Scrolls
including Elder
Oh,
Scrolls
yeah,
Online,
no.
Lost
Oh my-
Ark,
this
New
guy-
World, all that
We
shit.
don't want to leave that out now. Let's
No,
not leave out
I-
the-
I'm gonna-
I'll be
games.
honest, I'm gonna leave it out. I did not
Oh
like
my
it.
God. Oh my God.
I own the game and I don't like it.
Did they shut it down in Japan as well?
So they're shutting it down in Japan on January 18th, 2025, and then they just canceled the global release entirely.
Damn, that
Yeah.
thing must have been bleeding money.
Maybe that's what I assume it is. I mean, it used to have a pretty decent player base, but I haven't looked in recent times how it is. There's a channel called MMO Byte on YouTube. They
Hmm.
cover mostly MMOs and things of that nature, and
Mhm.
he's the reason I found out what Blue Protocol even was, because they've been covering it for years now, and they've also been just pretty much waiting, and they've been playing, I think, the JP version. So
Mhm.
kind of sucks, but I get it. Like I get where it's coming from, but it kind of sucks that they're just closing it all down together. Like nothing's getting left.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like fuck, what was that game? It wasn't Monster Hunter Online. There was another game similar to Monster Hunter that was, I think, Korea based only or Japan based only, and it was gonna get an NA release, but we never did. I don't think it was Dragon Age either. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. But I was really excited for it because the game looks sick. But yeah, we never got a release, and then eventually it just shut down. Same way, pretty much.
Gotcha. Real quick, I wanted to add this too. So yesterday or the Thursday, Visions of Mana came out,
Yeah.
and the day later they shut down their studio, even though the game got great reviews.
Really?
Yeah. And the
Yes.
reasoning was because shifting away from Japan-centric approach. That was the reason
Interesting.
for
What
shutting
the
down
fuck?
that studio.
I guess, dude.
I guess, dude. Like,
On a
was
drop of
that?
a whim.
There was that other studio, I think it was owned by Microsoft, where their game had just come out and it like did really well.
I think
Oh,
I'm
Hi-Fi
more-
Rush.
You're talking
Okay,
about
Yeah,
They
Hi-Fi
actually got bought
Rush.
out by Crafton, so that they're
Yeah.
actually still here. So
Good,
that's
which is
okay,
good
great.
because Hi-Fi
Yeah.
Rush was a fucking phenomenal game, severely underrated, well
Mhm.
worth the 20, 30, even $40, and it's constantly on sale, and it was on the Game Pass. So like no one had any excuse not to play it, and
Yeah.
anyone that did came out with like it was flying colors reviews. Like no one ever said anything like too bad about it.
It's still on my list to play for sure.
It's really good. It's for Christian, do you know what that game is?
yeah, I do.
Okay. For those that don't,
Yeah.
somehow
Oh, sorry.
it's a very stylized, fun rhythm action like beat 'em up game, and the bosses are really intricate. They're really cool. Have a lot of cool like rhythm mechanics to it, and it's really funny. Really funny. But go ahead. I don't know if you have something to say, Christian.
Oh no, I was gonna say I initially really liked that game because, like you said, it is a rhythm-based game, and I was showing it to Jen because she like loves all that type of stuff, so she got super excited about that.
Yeah, it was very good. It's still
Mhm.
worth the money if you see it. It's on Steam, the Nintendo Switch, and consoles. Just pick it up.
Yep.
You won't regret it.
Nope.
The next one we're going to talk about is Black Myth Wukong, because it's been out for a little bit now, and I think Jeremy, you've been playing it.
The
I
game
was-
is good, dude.
The game is good. I haven't picked it up
No.
yet, but I will.
It's kind of funny. My coworker judges my responses based on how good something is. So like I think one day I told him we saw Deadpool versus Wolverine, and I was like, it's good, dude. It's really good. And he was like, does that mean it's great? Yeah, it's great.
It's great.
Hmm.
So Black Myth Wukong is one of those games. It might be game of the year.
It's
It's very
looking
well-
like
very well
it
might be
right
game of the
now, judging by
Mhm.
public opinion. It seems to be going that way.
Mhm.
Now we still have 3 months now because we're in September. 3
Wait,
months
what's
left.
to come out?
I don't know. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I haven't looked. So I don't think it's going to be anything like Black Myth Wukong.
No.
Although
Yeah.
what's
The
funny,
game had too much hype around it
Yeah.
for like 6 years.
right? And what's funny was there's an article that we just read before the podcast that was attributing Steam concurrent users worldwide. It broke a record at 37 million and some change, and they're accrediting it to Black Myth Wukong because I think it peaked at like 2 million concurrent users on that game alone. And obviously, judging by the time frame, with it being like a low gaming interest part of the year, it obviously breaking a record in the middle to the end of August like this out of nowhere, it's usually probably because of one or two games. Yeah. And so I think it's pretty fair to accredit at least some of that record to Black Myth Wukong. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, in China, they're fucking selling out PS5s left and right everywhere over the country because of Black Myth Wukong. People are trying to play it.
Like I said, the UI looks crisp. The gameplay is fluid. The sound design is really good. The story is also really good.
I mean, isn't it just Journeys to the West?
Mm-hmm,
which is already a phenomenal story in its own right if you haven't gone through it yourself.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm stuck on the bear. Fuck this bear. I hate this damn bear.
This damn bear. I'll let you know how it is once I play it.
Yeah, if you know about the bear, comment below if you know about the bear, because that bear sucks.
If you know about the bear.
If you know about the bear.
Talk trash about the bear.
They're going to say, which game are you talking about? That's what they're going to say. Which bear? And there's two important bears over the past year and a half.
Right.
If you know, you know.
And I guess on the topic of PS5s, according to a bunch of rumors circulating right now, I think the design for the PS5 Pro leaked, and as well as a bunch of rumors going around that the PS5 Pro is actually going to be coming out sooner than we think, like pretty soon.
Yeah, the article I saw was talking about how the tech specs for the dev version of the PS5 Pro got leaked. Like somebody released those, so like it gives you a good idea of what the final product is going to have.
Yeah.
But that's crazy that it's so soon, and like it makes me wonder, like, does that mean they're going to be cutting support for the PS4 soon? You know, because right now, like that PS4 is getting left behind even further and further. You know, if you're a game studio, are you actually like thinking about putting it?
Yeah. It's definitely life support for sure.
Yeah.
I honestly, which might be unpopular, I am always happy when the support for like the previous generation stops.
And I'm gonna be honest, from a gaming development standpoint, 100%, I can see why.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'll be honest, because I'll be like, I'm a little more quote unquote, we'll use the word privileged, because I can at least be able to have the income to afford the new consoles when they come out and things of that nature, because not everybody can. So I do like it when those older generations tend to finally stop getting support, because it means the developers can now focus on just the one generation and PCs. And usually the games, for the most part, not everything, but they usually come out more optimized and better played because they're not worried about an older console and older tech in general. But it does suck for those people that just can't afford it, right?
Yeah. Just like recently, I didn't realize they they released Star Wars Survivor on PS4 this year.
Yeah.
Why?
It came out on PS4 because I think there was still a large population of the PlayStation market that were still on the PS4 at that time. I mean, even now, I'm pretty sure it's still pretty heavily towards PS4 now.
Yeah. I maybe more.
Yeah. I think they sold way more units of the PS4 than the PS5. But I don't know. PS4 times. I'm just happy it's coming to an end. That way we can innovate, because there's a lot of like I guess like gaming space that gets eaten up by the success of the PS4, and people keep looking at titles that were fantastic then, and they keep trying to mimic those systems, and it just stagnates people from being able to innovate on the newer consoles. So
the only part that of like not supporting those older generations anymore, like the 360 marketplace shut down somewhat recently. The PlayStation 3 as well. It kind of sucks because there's a lot of older games that got ported onto those marketplaces, and that was the only way to get them. Like the 360 used to have access to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and it was a decent version of it. It was the New Age of Heroes, and I don't remember which version specifically. And then the PlayStation 3 had access to a lot of those older Darkstalkers, and now some of those games, they've been ported over with the Capcom collection and stuff like that. But there's other games, like, thankfully, now that we have the Marvel vs. Capcom collection coming out, But before that,
Mm.
other than the 360 version, you'd have to go spend a shit ton of money trying to get the Dreamcast version if you wanted to play it legitly without emulation or anything like that.
Mhm.
So that's the only downside of that kind of stuff. But luckily, like at least Capcom and a few other companies have been doing a pretty good job of trying to bring those games that aren't readily available back to the consumer, which kind of sucks. Then you have to rebuy it, but like at least we have access to it. So like,
Yeah.
it's definitely, I definitely am on the side that I'd rather preserve a lot of those older games that we just don't get to play anymore.
Yeah.
Game
Unpopular.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you good? No, you good.
I was gonna say, like, game preservation when it comes to like those old marketplaces. Like there was that big thing that happened when they shut down the DSi store.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of games there that only existed on that storefront got just completely deleted.
Yeah.
And like I know there's an organization, I can't remember what the name of it's, but it's like something about Digital Vault Systems or something like that, where they basically go in before a website gets deleted or any kind of like major storage space that has stuff like that, and they will archive everything they can get their hands on, because like you said, like some companies have the money to be able to re-release their games and putting on new ports and stuff like that. But I mean, think about the hundreds of indie games that just
sit there.
companies went under or whatever, and it's owned by like a shell company of a shell company of a shell company that's just not going to do anything with it, and that's just gone forever. And it could be somebody's favorite game that they're never going to be able to experience again.
Right, unless you find yourself a fucking super overpriced used copy on like eBay or something.
Yeah, and sometimes those games never went to physical. They only had enough
digital
money. Yeah, had enough money to put it digitally, and it's just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there should be something to where every developer is by law required to have an actual like online storage for their games.
Yeah.
Like there should be something, not Steam, but something that's kind of, and I know people don't like to hear this, but and I kind of be political with this, but I think maybe you hold something where there's like a government authority that says like, yeah, per region there is a catalog on a .gov that is literally for any game that's created and sold in certain areas, and then you get in with the same key that you purchased on your platform, that if we do get it, it's right here. Like just get it on PC.
Yeah.
And then that touches on like so many aspects of what it is to even own a game. So like in that scenario, you have to address the fact that every piece of software that you have on your phone, PC, or whatever, you don't own any of it. You own a license to use it, right? So then you have to address the fact that they have to change all those user agreements back to being you own the actual software, not the license of it, and then you impeach on a company's private right of ownership over the product that they make, right? Because then you're forcing them to put that up for public domain. And a lot of the cases, you and I can't really do anything with that information, but I'm sure there's somebody way smarter than us that can look at that and be like, okay, here's a trick that they're doing to make it look like this, or here's a trick that they're doing that makes the shooting feel better or whatever, and they'll use all of that proprietary information to sell it to somebody who's willing to buy it, or just little companies that are trying to come up. And then now you have like it's so many hoops that you have to jump through to even get close to that kind of setup, which is why it doesn't happen.
The funny part with even that stuff too is like somebody could probably get these files, and like it's pretty difficult to break them up like that to get that type of info. Like even if you're trying to go through like INI files, or you're like trying to find a way to like decrypt the entire scripting of the thing, like it would, you would be probably wasting more time like doing yourself a service. If anything, you just like grab the developers who've made that product. And like you mentioned, it's like the multi-layered of how crazy it is for these companies having as much control that they have. Because you can't even grab the developer after they've worked on the project for X amount of time because of that non-compete nonsense, which I hope for the FTC, because I think that they just got done saying that it's illegal for non-compete and something else. So like non-compete and whatever else is under.
Yeah, I think the decision was that they leave it up to the states.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
Which
That
is
is
it's the worst decision they could have done.
If
Why would you do
I
that?
remember correctly, I think that was the ultimate decision that they'll leave it up to the states because it's an overreach of government. That was their excuse. But
That's insane.
and like you also got to think about like it can take a while or it can be a process, but what's cheaper, paying somebody to scrub through those files versus hiring a high-end developer, because developers have if you're that good, you're going to have a good salary base, right? I'm pretty sure it's going to be cheaper to just pay somebody to scrub data for a couple of days or whatever and then come back with whatever they find interesting than it is to just try to poach a developer from another company.
Yeah.
But it's a messy process. I wish there was a better way to maintain like digital archives because there's even movies and music especially that just gets lost every year and just you'll never see it again, and there's nothing we can do about it.
I mean, there's even whole like series and YouTube channels on what you would consider lost media, especially for TV. There's a lot of TV shows that were either unaired or shown like only one time or one part of the season, and they're deleted.
There was that one that just happened recently with Disney Plus. I can't remember the name of the even I forgot what it's called, but there was a series that came out and I think it was only available for like maybe a month, and then they just scrubbed it, and since they own the rights, it's not anywhere else. It's just gone. So all those people and actors and producers, everybody that worked on that show, it was for nothing. It's literally gone. There's that Batgirl movie that they filmed, produced, edited, and all that stuff, and it's just gone.
Think about Swamp Thing. That was on HBO. That just went away, right?
Yeah. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Well, as much as I don't like Nintendo games, I think they are a fantastic developer in the way that they handle their distribution. So maybe that there's something to that SD card format thing that Nintendo does, where literally everything just comes out on this thing, and you can choose digital or that, because that makes sense to me. But everybody likes graphics. Well, everybody doesn't, but folks like graphical fidelity, which we'll probably touch in the FPS conversation.
Yeah,
but
Jeremy over here.
People want that Final Fantasy VII remake everywhere. They want it everywhere. So I understand.
All right. And then as to continue our gaming news, because I just thought this one was funny. It's not even gaming news related. It's just a funny news.
It's just sad, actually.
Is it sad?
It's pretty sad.
I mean, well, I guess we'll see. So, BBC recently picked up the viewing rights for One Piece.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something else.
No, that's
Concord on there.
Yeah,
the sad thing.
Oh, I skipped over that because it's depressing. We'll come back to that one. Because this one, this one's funny. So, in the UK, the only way to watch One Piece dubbed is through BBC, which I just thought was funny. It's just,
do they have British accents or just English dub?
I'm assuming it's just the English dub that we got, which I just think it's so funny. Out of all the networks that could have possibly done it, like they have access to Crunchyroll and stuff, and Crunchyroll has shown dub and subbed here, but that's obviously like an NA, so I don't know how their licensing works out of like internationally. So I just think it's really funny that the BBC out of all networks in the UK gets the viewing rights.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
So I just wanted to give that up. I just thought it was funny. We can go back to the depressing one. On a little outline, it just says Concord's sad face. So, Jeremy, do you want to talk about this?
Well, Concord just came out this week, and just has less than 700 players on Steam. Less than 700. Game is already dead in the water. Hasn't even been 2 weeks.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest, and it could be part of the reason. I don't even know when Concord came out. I didn't even know it came out.
Well,
and there was no marketing for it.
I did play their open beta. I played one game and I deleted it afterwards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I at least try to give these games a try.
And did you guys see any marketing for it, like trailers, commercials, or anything?
Oh yeah, I got plenty of trailers on YouTube.
Oh, okay. So I guess that's just me because I pay for YouTube Premium to get not ads on my TV and my phone and stuff. and so I just didn't see anything. So I didn't even know when it was coming out.
I think the people talk about the most is like how the characters look. The characters don't look appeasing at all.
Really?
No.
No,
They honestly look like candy. Like they look like somebody saw different candies and was like, "How do we
Actually,
turn
you
this
know what?
candy into a person?"
I'm
It's just
Concord images. You'll be like, what are these? What are these?
I'm about to
Okay,
look
so-
this up. Hold on.
And then
Just real
the
quick.
promotion material, like when they first showed it, I thought it was like a single player game. With,
No.
with,
No.
with the way they were like promoting it and like the trailers, it definitely was not.
Mm-mm.
no. I wish hero shooters would stop. To be honest, it's tired. It's so
Yeah.
tired.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ,
like-
those were some of the most uninteresting and boring characters I've ever seen. I
Yeah.
don't like looking at them. I don't know what they were going for. Some of them look like
Yeah.
aliens. They got that right, and that's
So
about
just-
it.
Yeah.
But if you watch the
Just-
first trailer, you would think that is not a hero shooter.
I saw a trailer back during. Was it Summer Games Fest? I
It
thought it was
Summer
a.
Game
I
Fest.
thought it was
Yeah.
a single player game.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought too.
No, because I think we were watching it together, and we were talking about like, oh, don't tell me it's a hero shooter. Please don't tell me it's a hero shooter.
That's
'cause-
what we said. You're right.
and then they're like, Concord is the new like 6-person hero shooter. And we're like,
and then that's when I
damn
stopped
it.
paying attention. You're
Yeah.
right.
A whole gas of air just.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just real quick, I'm looking at the Steam charts right now. So the all-time peak was 660 players on Steam, and the 24-hour peak was 122. As
Damn.
of 7 minutes ago, there were 91 people playing.
Dude,
Oh,
you know that's enough for 10 games, and then you have 2 people left over.
Yep.
Ship, please.
That means that that game Gollum did better than Concord.
Which is
Oh no!
wild.
Oh
Let me
my
see.
god!
That beats Gollum would have done
They
better.
did better than that King Kong game.
Oh, that King Kong game, dude! I forgot about that
With
game.
the JP with the JPEG
The
Raptor.
JPEG Raptor.
Maybe Kong did better. Maybe
You know what's
'cause
wild? I think those 2 games at least have the draw of being such a shit game. Some people will want to
Yeah,
experience
like
it.
it's so bad you want to see it.
Whereas,
It's like, no, I gotta see
whereas
this. but-
Concord, at least from what I've seen in public sentiment, it's boring, not interesting, and people just don't even want to play it. Which is probably like the worst thing in entertainment to
Yeah.
get as
Yeah.
criticism.
Yeah.
It's
like you're not
boring.
even bad enough to be
Gotta-
interesting.
Yeah, and it had an 8-year development cycle.
Which is
Jeez,
Took
that's
8 years to make
crazy.
this game, apparently.
8 years to make that game. That is disturbing.
You know when they
Yeah,
started? When Overwatch came out, they started development. It's like what it feels like because it's
Oh,
8
God.
years. Overwatch came out in 2016 to phenomenal success, and they're like, we can do this. And then we got that.
So Sony just doesn't like keeping their money. That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm hearing, I think.
That's a lot of money. Which studio is this anyway?
It's Firewalk Studios.
There it is.
Firewalk? How many people do they have on their team?
I don't know.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what else they've done.
I think this is
Yeah, I
their
don't-
first game with Sony.
With Sony, okay.
Yeah.
I guess while you're looking up, seeing how big the studio is, Jeremy, we can talk about they showed off the trailer for Shadow in Sonic 3, and it actually looks really good.
It does look really good.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
I haven't seen the first 2 movies yet. Still.
I haven't either. I haven't either. Apparently they're really good from what I've heard. Everyone's been saying they're a lot of fun.
Wait, sorry, real quick. You said the Concord's in development for 8 years.
Yeah, it was in development for 8 years.
The studio didn't start until 2018.
2018. Yeah.
So that means they were probably under another
working.
studio and then they went off
Yeah.
on their own.
Yeah, probably.
Dang.
Oh, unless Sony was coming up with the project and then they
Yeah.
Then
bought
they
Fire.
took
work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that sounds about right. Yeah, they got 150 people, or at least when Sony got them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Lord
That's
knows.
a lot of money.
I was gonna say, Lord
That's
knows.
a lot of.
Lord knows with all these fucking layoffs we've had in this fucking environment, it's probably like 100 people now.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild to me. Yeah, I don't.
But anyway, the Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 3 looks good.
Sonic
I
Sonic
need
3
to
does
look
look good.
down,
The
watch
movie,
it.
yes.
So
I mean, I'm a big fan of one Sonic game, and that's kind of just taken me throughout most of my life. It's like, oh, the Sonic movie, yeah, I can check it out. The only one that
Pretty
matters,
much.
and I'm here to fight anyone that says otherwise. Sonic Adventure 2 is the only Sonic game worth playing. And as far as like the TV shows and stuff, they're pretty good. Like Sonic Boom, that TV show is actually really funny.
Yeah, I watched the animated ones.
Yeah.
when I was
Sonic
The
X was
OG
also
Sonic,
good.
Sonic Underground.
Yeah.
young.
I watched it around any day of the week.
Yeah. Sonic X was the one that I watched growing up.
X, yeah.
And then so we'll move on to the next one since that, it's cool. Sonic. First Descendant also showed off their first new character. Like I think it got released, right? They're officially out.
Versus that. It.
What about it, man?
What's going on? Share your opinion.
I already told Jeremy that game is just like I hate talking about like my thoughts on developers, but like the practices in First Ascendant are just like reminders to me of why I will never even attempt to work for very specific studios.
Right.
Because like the thought process behind how you monetize players' time and their individual thoughts in First Ascendant is just like sickening to me.
Oh yeah.
Like it's really disgusting. Like I had a buddy who was playing the game. He loves it. He was grinding for one piece and he had to run a mission over 20 times just to not get the piece. And then decided to go back and do it again.
Right.
And I'm like, how is that okay with you? Like what 20 times in the mission takes around 11 minutes. Like what else do you do in your life?
People just
that
like
many
to grind for
Some
things out
people do like that mindless grind. I mean, look at Christian. He still plays Destiny.
Damn.
Oh,
Okay.
Hold out, it's real.
there. Oh no.
If it was just the grind, I would be okay with it. If it was just
But
the
it's
grind,
also their monetization.
The monetization. It's like the skins, the characters. I'm like,
Well,
this is insane.
I think we're definitely getting into that point where it's like, how egregious can a game company be before people stop playing it?
Before people stop playing it, yeah.
And because I saw some stuff about the First Ascent because I was super excited about it in the first place. I think I even told Alan about it. I was super excited about it, and then when they revealed like how it's going to be monetized, and they're showing how if you want a specific color on your armor, you have to roll for it and all this. And I was like, yeah, no, you lost me that one, bud.
Yeah, like I haven't. Yeah, like because of the way they're monetizing the gameplay, it's fine, and I don't mind grinding like that. I mean, I'm an MMO player, stuff like that. Playing JRPGs, you mindlessly level if you're stuck. That's never really bothered me, but their monetization is truly like outrageous, and it's the reason I haven't picked up the game. Now, I'll be honest though, with this new character, with the way she was looking, I actually thought about it. I was like, maybe I hop on.
That's another thing.
Right.
That's another thing. That right there, I think that needs to be like stripped out of gaming.
Oh,
like
100%.
I might be highly unpopular on the statement, but like the sexualization of characters and like using this type of thing to like get people engaged in games is just crazy to me that it's even allowed.
Right.
Like, and I don't even think the game is rated M for mature or anything. So like you have kids who are probably 14, 13, 12 years old hopping on the First Ascendant, and one of their first characters they're going to get is a woman with their chest out. Or like the ultimate versions is now the characters look more like they're on the streets getting ready to sell something.
Right.
Like it's wild. I'm like, I was talking about Buddy. I'm like, it's funny the psychological like the psychological line that they want you to follow on like the game, like the graph gameplay is 100% tied into sexualization of the characters. Because I think the first character you get for free is the female with her ass out. Like that's the one they have the most skins for, like Bunny, and she's the best character you can get. She can wave clear. She's got sustainability. You pop like you in Warframe terms, former her. You former her one time, and she is pretty much good to go. There is nothing else that's needed to be done, and they give you her after like mission 5 or something. And it's why else would they do this? Why else would they give you this character? They have a whole roster of characters.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing.
Come on, they're like, no, they're just like they like players. They just like giving you stuff. I'm like, the copium is strong. Y'all need help.
Right.
Yeah.
Need some help. Like, that game, yeah. And even Warframe, I think, is egregious when it comes down to the monetization. It only was okay with Warframe because they were pretty much the first to do it. So it's like, this is just their formula for how they figured out how they were going to make money. Granted, they got turned down by every publisher they went up to make Warframe.
Right.
So I'm like, they get a pass back then, but even now, I'm like, digital. I know y'all give away free stuff all the time, but your characters should not be $80.
Right.
Like, at what have you made enough money? So I don't know. Greed annoys me. But
it is what ruins a lot of these games nowadays.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
So that's,
and then
yeah, go ahead.
like you run into the fact that like, hey man, if you feel that way, again, this game's not for you. It's for the whales out there who have expendable income and can just spend money because they want to have the best skins, because like that's the closest they'll get to, you know, looking at a woman that close. Like it's just not for the average player anymore, and that's fine. But that's what I mean. Like, it's gonna reach a point where, like, man, there's only so many people that are like that you can get their attention, right? So like, if all you had all these whales playing First Descendant, well, okay, well, how many are going to be playing the next game after that, or how much are they going to be sticking with this one? So it's a dwindling player base that you have to account for.
The funny part is, though, and this is that's I'm not gonna say that's not correct, but there's a backdoor to this that, like, what makes those games successful isn't necessarily the game itself. It's going to be the implementation of mechanics at specific points that keep you doing a specific thing. So, like, that set of folks, that group is only getting larger.
Yeah.
And like, when you pair it with the growth of something like OnlyFans and like premium Snapchats and stuff, those markets are ever growing as well. So what they figured out is we can just make them parallel. And as long as we maintain going back and forth between the craziness, we're always going to have a player base. And the more friends that's like, oh, friend, I play this game, you play that game. Let's all just play this game together. Oh, you'll never play this. Come and play it. They're converting people at this point. And it sounds crazy to say converting, but like,
no, it is what it is.
Yeah, they're straight up bringing people who would none other, like, never, that would pretty much never engage in the scenario just because they want to play a game with their friends and they know what they're doing. It's like, oh, it's free to play. Just hop in. Yeah, just go and hop in the game. You know, we'll even give you some free stuff. Go ahead. And the friend's like, yeah, cool. Look, we get some free stuff. And then next thing you know, you're trapped. And then it's like, oh, well, this game was fun. Where's the next one? And then they're awaiting the next one, which is like why these companies think that it's cool to keep making these games, because they're always going to have an audience. People love to waste their time and look at women while they do it.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I really wish that, like, because I know males are like the largest group of gamers. Still, I think it's like a 70% or something of that, like overwhelmingly
it's
still
been
male.
going down, but it's still overwhelmingly males.
Yeah, still overwhelming. I'm like, if the majority will sit down and say, like, we're here to play games, and like that other, you know, version that you would be like thinking about while you play games, handle your business and then come play games. Like there has to be some separation of church and state. That's the way to put it. I can't fathom, like, oh, you can't play this game without thinking about, like,
Now, I guess since we're kind of on this topic, let me ask your opinion on this, right? So, is it all sexualization of women, or when it's used in that way?
I think it is used in that way because, like, you think about a character like Tomb Raider,
right?
There is some of that with her, but that's part of her kit.
It's
and
like
that's the way to call it.
Right.
It's just it's like a part of the allure for her, even like the Resident Evil chick or something like that. Like those are just,
Jill.
Well,
Jill,
Wong,
like
too.
Or Ada, or
like there are some things that prominently put these females in like very specific
FIFA.
How do you put it? They just frame them perfectly for like their personality. And I know people say like, oh, women are more than it looks. Yes. However, in the specifics for how these women are in their story and their capabilities, it's a part of it. They seduce people. They can talk to you. They can do X, Y, and Z. But if it's just we're out here shooting monsters and like,
Let's make
fighting
them hot as
world-ending
fuck, right?
creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, like why am I in high heels in a skirt? Like, what am I doing?
Mhm.
And then the guys over there, tanky, covered up like full metal, and the
Right.
chick has on like a tiny breastplate and then a skirt, and it's like, what is this? Like, what?
You okay?
Yeah, my
Good.
my brain. Man, I'm gonna tell you, my brain is just it'd be mind boggled. I'm like, I can't believe this is where we've gotten to.
Right.
But yeah, I just wish they'd cut it out.
Well,
Now we can go on after that massive rant. We
Yeah,
can
we
go
can.
on to we can get into what was supposed to be our main topic today. We're kind of giving obviously Chris, since he is not part of the fighting game community very much. He's just here to have fun, give his take. We decided to give him a little bit more to talk about today. So we're going to be talking about FPS games, more about the modern games, our thoughts on the modern games, what they're doing, their mechanics, if they're innovating or not, or if they're going backwards. And we're going to kind of have a discussion about that. So I guess if just in case for those that maybe don't remember, Chris, do you want to give yourself a little bit of background on what games you're playing and stuff like that in case they forgot?
Yeah, I mostly play FPS. Like you called me out earlier, I play Destiny 2 a lot. I've been playing it forever, and the main reason that I like it is just because the mechanics when it comes to the FPS part of it is just the smoothest, most satisfying part of any game that I've ever played. And like I've yet to find a game that feels exactly like that or even better. So I've been playing that a lot. I do, Battlefield, pretty much any game. Battlefield, which one am I playing right now?
2048?
2042, yeah.
Oh, 42.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To Helldivers, I'm playing X Defiant, like anything that has to do with FPS, that's what I play.
Okay. And then I guess to give a little bit, so we, people don't think we don't know what we're talking about. We only play fighting games. Growing up, I've been playing Call of Duty, Halo, and Gears of War, which is third person, since I was basically 10 years old, since the original Gears of War. It's a little young, but parents didn't care. But growing up, I played pretty much every single Call of Duty since Call of Duty 4 up until what was it? World War II was the last one that I was like really played, and then I bought Modern Warfare 2 remastered, and then I didn't like it. I've obviously been playing Battlefield since Battlefield 3, and I've played every Battlefield that's come out since then. I've played every single Gears of War as just another one. Halo, I've only played Halo 2, 3, 4, Reach, and then I didn't play 5, and then I played a little bit of Infinite. And
Gotcha.
as far as like any other FPS games, I mean, basically, if it's an FPS, I've at least given it a shot at one point or another. I played PUBG.
Yep.
I still play Apex at a pretty decent level, I would say. I play Overwatch quite a bit. Helldivers, I've dabbled in, but I don't play it too crazy right now. I'm trying to think of what other. I mean, obviously, I was really into Quake, Unreal Tournament growing up, and then I guess you can have like the single player first person shooters, quote unquote. Like you have Doom, Fallout technically qualifies. So I'm very well versed in this genre of games.
Yeah. For me, mainly Call of Duty, Halo. Also play a little bit of Gears of War, X Defiant, Apex, Killzone, which I missed that game.
Killzone.
Oh, yeah, Killzone.
Killzones were great. Yeah,
that game.
Resistance was a really good game.
Really good game. A little bit of Helldivers, Overwatch, the normal stuff for FPS single player games too. So.
And then obviously Daquan, he worked on Warzone himself, but I'm sure he's played it at least once.
I've played it a couple times.
Very good.
But primarily I played Skyrim, which the first person slasher. We gotta keep it into FPS context here. But I've played some Halo, pretty decent at it. But primarily I have also worked on indie FPSs. And then also obviously like working on like Borderlands and stuff. You get to understand like the tuning and what goes into making something feel good. Granted, just in a QA perspective for Borderlands, but you really get to understand the intent behind specific design decisions. But yeah, no, I know a little bit about FPS.
Okay. And on that topic, since you did mention it, I guess we can kind of give our opinion on, like Christian said, he loves how Destiny feels as far as like an FPS standpoint and how the guns shoot and how it feels to play, especially because I know he plays a good amount of PvP. What do you think are some of your favorite mechanics in FPSs that are maybe unique to FPSs? And then we can go into there and kind of discuss how those mechanics are and blah, blah, and then maybe talk about some of the worst in our opinions. So anyone can go first, take it up.
I guess for me, the main mechanic that I like is, and one of the main reasons that I liked Call of Duty, like at least back in the day, was being able to just get into an engagement, and whether I win or lose, I can move on to the next one within like 30 seconds. You know, it doesn't take long from between engagements, and if I lose, whatever, I respawn 5-6 seconds, go back to it again. I really like the action aspect of it, you know, of being able to just
constant.
keeps me entertained is the main part.
It is very action intensive, and like especially if you're playing a competitive mode like either team deathmatch or domination, even in Battlefield, it's very engaging, kind of full time, unless you're just sitting there sniping, you know.
Yeah,
that's kind of for me too. I like the more action aspect of it. That keeps me engaged.
I don't even know if I call this as a mechanic. It's just a feature, and it's the reason I like FPSs, like even Valorant and CS:GO specifically, right? I didn't mention those. I've been playing those a long time. I'm not very good, but they're fun. I don't know if I want to call this a mechanic or just a feature. The headshot dinking noise.
Oh yeah,
the dopamine I feel going around a corner in like Valo or CS:GO or like Battlefield or anyone where you can get like a single shot headshot. You get the dink noise and they fall over.
Yeah, that's more of a feature.
Yeah, I would call that more of a feature, but there's nothing like it in any other game for sure. I think the only thing I can think about is like maybe in fighting games you do like a hard read into a full punish, but even then that's like it's not the same feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, a feature that I hate and I can't stand. I'm just gonna throw this out here. Sliding. I cannot stand it.
Sliding. Okay.
And I will express this to the best of my abilities here.
Right.
Sliding to me is not a skill-based conversation. Like I think sliding is more of a trick shot mechanic. Like one of the things where you're just like, oh, what's the coolest way I can do something? But whenever you implement something like sliding, you also take away from something like in Destiny where you talk about the good feeling mechanics of shooting. Like if you're running around sliding, dodge rolling, and I guess it comes down to any of these type of motions where you're just evading people. Yeah, like those things make no sense to me, especially in a shooter. Like I get what people are trying to do for innovation in the space, but it's like realistically, I have a gun, and this is, I guess, if I take away like realism, if you just take into immersion into the gameplay, because that's that thing that pulls the folks in when you're in there in a firefight and you're going back and forth, going from room to room, trying to take people out. But if you add in, oh, I can slide, dive through this window, dodge roll, and then come back and like shotgun you, it's like, what are we playing now? Like, what is this? Like, take the guns out at this point, because you can argue that.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you, are you basing this off of like realism or just
like as a mechanic in the game?
No, just as a mechanic in the game, and for immersing the player in the fact that the thing in their hands is the most important thing. Like the gun should be the most important thing to you. But if you play stuff like Call of Duty, people are literally sliding and like hitting you in the head with a sniper. Like they're sniping you while sliding. Like it's insane.
I was gonna say I've seen clips of Nicki Minaj diving through a door and shotgunning someone as they're flying in the air.
Yeah, like it's just I don't understand. Like I really don't.
I don't like it either.
Call of Duty, although it's supposed to simulate realism, it's still an arcade shooter.
Right.
Yeah, it's still arcade. Yeah, pretty much. I just hate that mechanic. I'm being honest.
So you just hate those movement type esque mechanics in games that should be more about your aim and things of that nature.
100%. Like you get a game like Titanfall, and I care less about it because the actual core functionality of Titanfall is the movement. It is mobility. Right. So like for Titanfall, the weapon is secondary. So I'm like, I'm fine with you being able to do crazy stuff in Titanfall. Like I enjoyed Titanfall for the fact of like the weapon, I would just run around like grappling folks and like kicking them. I'm
Right.
like, and then when my Titan goes down, I'm doing Titan things. But if you're in Call of Duty or Halo or Battlefield, whatever, and folks are like, I think I was playing Battlefield 5, and somebody was slide canceling in Battlefield. I'm like, how do you? I didn't even know this was an option.
I'll be
Like,
honest, I
what
didn't
is?
even know
No,
you could do that.
Like, I was like, you can do this in this game. Like,
I
what was this?
I
game
would
limit?
consider Battlefield not well the
It's
more realistic,
more realistic,
game
quote unquote.
in,
Yeah.
in the sense of
Yeah.
a video game. Like
Mm.
what I hate in Call of Duty mechanics with bunny hopping. I hate bunny hopping.
Oh yeah, that thing is so
Bunny hopping is
disgusting.
no fucking
So
No.
yeah, so like I was gonna say, for me, right, because I play a shit ton of Apex, that those things are like integrated as part of the system, right? Like if you don't
Right.
get like at least decent at being able to move like that, you're kind of just not gonna make it up
works in
in
those
rank.
games.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in those games, because you have ways to play around it, because you have things like abilities and things of that nature, I don't have a
Mhm.
problem with it. I actually like it. It feels really good, especially when you can do it.
Yeah.
But I
But,
will
like,
say,
Call of Duty,
doing it in Call of Duty, I hated it. Even
Yeah, it
learning
makes
how
no
to do
sense.
it makes no sense. Call of Duty,
Not at
Battlefield,
all.
Halo. In Halo, you have things like jumping and rocket jumping and stuff like that, but that's not anywhere near as like them
No.
being able to slide jump around a corner and
I
Okay.
can get past
Well-
like quick scoping. Like I can get past that, but like the bunny hopping, I can't stand that.
No.
Well, I'm just gonna say this. Yeah, all of those points, they make you sound like you're 1,000 years old, because all of those are the same arguments that they come out every year. This is what I talked about at the beginning of the show. Every year, you hear the same arguments over and over again. But the thing is, a new game is meant to innovate on the last game. If you like the last game more, go play that. Don't play this.
Yeah.
As far as mechanics go, every time there's a new game, you have to introduce something with it, right? It's gotta be flashy. You gotta have something that draws people in, because if you didn't, then they would just keep playing the last
I
game.
completely agree with you there. But the problem with Call of Duty as the example, right? Those aren't intended mechanics. Because like, remember slide canceling? They took that out of it because they weren't supposed to be in part of the game. So that's why we're complaining about it, right? Because it's not
And
something
they-
that was intentional and it was dumb.
Which
They
is fine,
re-added
but
it.
like speaking specifically on Call of Duty, the new
Yeah.
movement system that they have for Black Ops 6 is the Omni
What is
movement.
it? What is
And
it?
Omni
What?
movement means that you can sprint in any direction. So like you can
Oh, that's
sprint
yeah.
backwards, you can sprint sideways, you can
So-
sprint side to side. That means that you have, how like if you want to dolphin dive, you got to run a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to dolphin dive now, you can dolphin dive to the side, backwards, whatever, in any direction.
with a gun.
Which
So I
that
did
one,
So-
yeah, I actually like that.
So I and then okay, back to this. I remember when Black Ops, I think it was 4 or 3 came out, and they had those
The
wall
jetpacks.
running
Oh,
mechanics.
the wall running.
Yeah, that they just started it with that one. People hated that. The immediate thought was like, I want boots on the ground, Battlefield or Call of Duty. I want boots on the ground. I don't want to be able to do like I don't want to have to look up when I'm when I'm trying to shoot somebody in front of me. It's like, you sound ridiculous. You don't want to look up. What are you talking about? Like, that's just the game that you're playing. You have to adjust it. Look,
Well,
when they introduced running to Halo, that was a big deal, because like, not in my Halo. I don't want to run. I'm a 50,000 like a 50,000 pound war machine. I shouldn't be able to run. It makes no sense. Like, you're also playing a video game, my guy. You're not out here, in the real world. So let's keep the realism out of it. It's a mechanic in the game, whether you like it or not, and it makes sense. Just because you're not good at it doesn't mean that they should take it away. They should have that, and if you have the time to practice, awesome. Get better at it, and you're gonna enjoy it just as much as the people that are already good at it enjoy it.
and I get everything you just said, and I will buy Call of Duty every year knowing that there's going to be slide canceling and bunny hopping and quick scoping, and I still play the game because I actually enjoy the game.
Oh, I don't. I can even
And
get good at
then,
that stuff,
like-
and I
and
don't
then,
enjoy
like-
it.
So the new Omni movement, I was watching CP play over
It looks cool.
yesterday.
I'm okay with that. That sounds cool.
He rarely used it.
Because he's not used to it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
new thing you gotta ingrain yourself to using.
Yeah. Here's my, I guess one of my biggest things with the mechanics conversation with innovation in a game. At what point does your innovation in your previous title make your game not your original game?
Or the original intent.
Because
What?
like if you add something like sliding and all these extra movements to a game like Call of Duty, it is very different from a conversation of adding a sprint button into Halo. Like the sprint button is literally just the speed. It's just like how fast am I moving forward? Like that type of conversation is not even a mechanic. It's
Well,
just a button.
and I agree with you. It is just a button, but they had those discussions when sprinting came into Halo. People hated it. They're like, this is not my Halo. I don't know why they did this. It's unnecessary. I completely agree with you. It's just sprinting, but I can tell you the same thing about the new mechanic. It's just movement, man. That's
Well,
all it
the
is.
thing of
The game stopped being the original game when they added a 2 to it. Call of Duty 2, that's a new game. Call of Duty 3, that's another new
I
game.
I don't
It,
know if that.
there's
I
no
don't know if
such
I
thing as the original game. They
Well,
innovate
no,
it every year, and it's a
I
completely new game every year.
I think what he's also trying to say though, because I kind of disagree with that, is not that it's being the original game,
yeah,
because obviously the sequel is meant to innovate, it's meant to change. But what I think is when you're starting to lose what is the original intent or the meaning behind what is Call of Duty, or like Call of Duty is the example, right? Then I'm
yeah,
no longer on board. That is not the same game. What you're
pretty much.
adding
It's not
changes
Call of
the
Duty anymore.
fundamental level of what we understand as Call of Duty, and that's my complaint with it.
Yeah,
Because it's
and
not
I'm not saying
we're still pretty young. Like, I if someone like me who doesn't put hours and hours every day into Apex can get somewhat decent at Apex to where I'm getting diamond at least. It's not super crazy, but I'm like good enough to get diamond. I can learn
yeah,
Call of Duty, but it's not Call of Duty. Like the way that it's played right now is not what I enjoyed
yeah.
about
It's
Call of
not
Duty
Call of
growing up. And so that's why I
No.
don't like it. Now, I complain about it
Yeah.
and I have issues with it, but I'm never going to like Jeremy, he plays Call of Duty every day. I'm going to make fun of him cuz he's my friend. But I'm not going to like if I met someone in real life and they're like, "Yeah, my favorite game is Call of Duty." I was like, "That's awesome, bro. Good job. I'm glad you can enjoy a game that you get every year." I do not.
Pretty much.
But I can still
Yeah.
complain about it because those mechanics don't like they like ever since they added the jetpack mechanics and stuff like that, ever since then, and them like trying to even go back to boots on the ground and still having slide canceling, bunny hopping, even to diving to a certain extent, it's changing the original intent of what Call of Duty was, and that's my issue with it. I don't. So like I was saying, I don't disagree with you, but like that's my standpoint for it.
I just think that if the original movement system in the original game or original design of the game was what players wanted, they would never change it.
No,
Oh,
100%.
I can completely no. I will completely disagree with that part. The actual players that want that part, what they're trying to figure out is how to get new players. They don't care about the old players. That part they don't care about. That's why when people are like, "Oh, this is our game. We feel like a community." It's like, no, whoever buys this game this year is their new community. They don't care about who was here last year.
Right.
That's why they have like the DEI and all the other stuff included. They want to keep progressing towards getting a newer set of folks who can complain less about what they have messed up in the past. That's all the AAA thought process about these games. So like when it comes to, well, let me not say all, that's a lot of them going into this live service environment of like creating something on a yearly basis. When it comes down to something like Call of Duty, as like an individual, like you mentioned, like popping in Apex and still getting like pretty much diamond. I didn't play Call of Duty that much, even when I got hired as Raven, and I hopped into Warzone matches and I won plenty of them.
Yeah.
Like the shooting is still shooting in Call of Duty. The conversation still becomes, are you still the same product if you have a new competitor? Like if I'm Call of Duty, but now my competitor is Destiny, those two shouldn't be in the same space.
No, not at all.
Like they're two separate games, but they share player bases.
Right. Okay. I guess my question would be, if do you think that there would be, not necessarily with the games that have been out right now, but just in general, if at what point does an FPS stop being an FPS? Like when do you have to add more brackets outside of it, like FPS, MMO, whatever? At what point does it stop being an FPS for you?
I don't think it stops being an FPS as long as there is FPS mechanics. the main thing for me is what is your unique selling point? Like the USP, whenever like people do like the game design stuff, they always ask like, what is your unique selling point? For Call of Duty, it was an immersive military experience. That was Call of Duty. But
Originally.
now that's not it. And I'm not saying that they can't innovate and do something different, because even for me, as a combat engineer, I jumped through plenty of windows. Like I was, rolling down and doing weird stuff. But in the idea of trying to simulate that, that's not that type of environment. Like in any kind of way is that type of environment. And when you translate that over to what you actually do for game feel and stuff like that, players are going to want a specific thing per game that they play. But the fact that you can enjoy Apex and Destiny and Call of Duty and go between the three and really have to do not much different, and it's like almost the same mechanics, it's insane. It's like this is no longer Call of Duty. This is no longer a unique space in the gaming industry. Like it's just another shooter with movement and hero mechanics. Like if you look at Pokemon, that's a game to where like they pretty much do the same thing every single year. Like they barely change anything, and they maintain a healthy audience because people are like, Pokemon, I'm gonna buy it. It's Pokemon, no problem. But for Call of Duty, that's not the case.
I see what you're saying, but I think like Pokemon might be a bad example because you also look into it like what other games are doing what Pokemon is doing.
I get that part, but when you talk about market share for FPSs, if Call of Duty, like Activision, Raven, whichever one of these companies, and even if you actually, this is the best example, Verdansk. How many people are so excited about that map coming back? Like the original Warzone map.
Yeah.
Like
I would be.
That's another example of look. That's an example of
might get me back if they put it in there.
Which is insane. Like the fact that something that was an origin point for the game itself, as far as Warzone being a thing, people was like, oh, Call of Duty on a larger scale. That's what people signed up for. But then when he added all these extra maps and new mechanics within the systems, people was like, oh no, I'm not here for that. But then they're talking about bringing it back for Verdansk, and all of a sudden player numbers are surging on Warzone. So like, I think folks do prefer the originality of the product because what's the formula? I can't remember the base formula, but pretty much a lot of players prefer simplified mechanics that is a little bit more difficult to master rather than having all the mechanics that are easy, but then everybody has access to it and it's just a bunch of chaos going on. So Call of Duty was defined on the simplified mechanics that are just difficult to master. And adding on the rest of this, it just becomes something else. Like if I can dodge roll and then pull out my sniper rifle mid dodge roll and shoot you, you're looking like, well, what just happened? Like you get a disconnect in the player, like what is actually going on? But if someone does that in Apex, you're not concerned. It's like, oh, that's Mirage. She went invisible and duped me and then shot me. Okay, very well. Things are happening. But in Call of Duty, you should not be concerned of why you just got tapped while a guy was jumping through a window.
I shouldn't see a kill feed where a guy jumps out of the window, does a 720 turn, and then slide no scope.
Well, I think you run into the issue of like the fact that it is an FPS means that it has to compete in a huge market, an already oversaturated market, so it's got to stand out somehow.
Yeah.
But not only does it have to stand out, one of the biggest examples would be like when Apex came out, it has a feature where if you click, at least I don't know what it is on console, but if you click on the mouse wheel, you can tag a spot further down the map and everybody on your team can see it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing when it came out. It is real, like I love that aspect of it. And what that did was that with any other FPS that came out after that, if it didn't have that tagging system, all of a sudden I'm looking at it like, why don't you have it? Like people like this, why don't you have it? So when you're Call of Duty and you're working in a space like this, you have to not only set yourself apart, but you also have to blend in a little bit, because why can I slide down a hill on Fortnite and then jump up and hit a shot, but I can't do that on Call of Duty? Or like, why can't I go around a corner in Apex with the momentum that I have from rolling down a hill, but I can't do that in Call of Duty? So
I think it's also that's different
you
expectations
also,
though. I feel like because like,
but that's
I get
not,
I
that's
get
the
what
thing,
you're
though.
saying.
It's
I
still
get what you're
still an
saying.
FPS.
I get what you're saying because it is an FPS and it's in like you said, it's an oversaturated market. But just because you're trying to innovate and then you end up becoming more similar to other things, and I've noticed that a lot of the player base that just like it surges when a game comes out and it feels the same. So why would they go to then continue playing the game that feels the same when they can just go play like Apex, Fortnite, Overwatch? Like the reason the games that I play is just Overwatch and Apex is my main FPSs because they feel vastly different from each other, give me vastly different experiences, and they're both competitive at a different level. I don't want to go into Call of Duty feeling like it does in Apex. Like I get it because some people do. Some people do. Like that's the reason the game still is super popular. But I don't want to go into all these FPSs in the same genre and they feel too similar. Like because you're right, they do have to stand out and do have to, like you're saying, because I'm not completely disagreeing with you. But I think because of what Call of Duty is, it's always going to have a player base nonetheless. So you don't have to go around feeling like other FPSs. You can have the similar mechanics like the pinging. You can, like, let's say you want to dive through the window. That's perfectly fine. But you have to mitigate it to still make it feel like Call of Duty. Like, I think it would be able to retain more of its player base if it started to focus more on its own business instead of what other people were trying to do.
Exactly.
Well, I think the other thing you also got to consider is that this is somebody's first Call of Duty. Last year's was somebody's first Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So for them, last year, that's what Call of Duty feels like. Like 2 years ago, that's what Call of Duty feels like. This year, that's what Call of Duty feels like. So I think a lot of it has to do with just your perception of it, right? It just doesn't feel like your Call of Duty. It still is Call of Duty, but it's just not the one that you identify with anymore.
Yeah,
and sorry, just one last thing. And I understand that it's like, oh, it's not necessarily a bad thing that it doesn't feel like that.
No, not at all.
It's just a thing where like you wish it was different, and I really want like the people to realize it's not us hating on the new Call of Duty and the new system. No, it's just us lamenting the fact that it doesn't feel the way that we remember it feeling, or the last Call of Duty that we felt connected to, right?
And it's, again, I definitely, like, some of my opinion is definitely based on that, because you're not incorrect. Like, it's for anyone, right? If you had like a really good experience with a specific game and there's sequels down the line, there's a part of you that's going to want it to feel that way. But at the same time, the reason that I've always dropped Call of Duty, it's not because of the way that it necessarily feels, or it's like, oh, that's not my Call of Duty. Like, I do complain that it's not like the other ones, but like the biggest thing for me is, again, why would I spend time playing Call of Duty when it feels similar to something else that I prefer?
Yeah, this is kind of bleeding into. Sorry, this is kind of bleeding into influences with the other. Well, I'm not gonna say other genres, but just like within the ecosystem of the FPS genre. This is kind of bleeding into that. Yeah. Like for me, peak Call of Duty was Modern Warfare 2 in 2007 or 9.
Mine was Black Ops 2.
That's for me. And then Black Ops 2 was great too. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later, 2019 Modern Warfare. That's also a peak Call of Duty for me.
And then as an example that I'm not shitting on, like the dolphin diving and stuff like that, Black Ops 2 had a lot of movement.
Yeah.
But because of the way the game felt at a fundamental level, the way the guns felt, you weren't completely accurate when you were dolphin diving and doing all these other things. There was things that made the game feel really good. But now it's bleeding too much into the movement system that's like Apex or Fortnite.
For me, the reason why I just can't play this game anymore, we'll touch on this for sure, is like the customization and monetization, and just Warzone in general right now for me. Because Warzone killed multiplayer. It just killed multiplayer, and then with the Resurgence killed Warzone.
Yeah,
I can't stand Resurgence. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will make the thing of what you mentioned about people having to adapt and do different stuff in the space. The best example of what you're talking about is Bungie with Destiny, because And then this is normally why my conversation comes into like sticking your own little bubble. The people that play Halo today are not the same people that play Destiny. Like
Right.
they are very two different camps, and you can see that by the different developer. Even though Bungie was the ones that created Halo to begin with, when someone else got a hold of that IP, they could not recreate it.
No,
Like they just sucked at like that. I hate to say whatever about 343, but like
it's not
they
good.
need help. They need some
Yeah.
milk. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So like, and for Bungie, they fundamentally knew. Like if you check out Bungie's GDCs when they talk about like animation and their ability systems and like their server tech and how they had to fundamentally think differently on how to make a new infrastructure for Destiny, given that they wanted to like, and they used the same engine that they made Halo in. And like I think they said the first character they made, the Titan, was based off of Master Chief in general. So the grenade was an ability, the sword was an ability, the movement was all, they turned it all into abilities. It's fundamentally made off of the same bones, but because they've changed it enough, they rebranded it as Bungie, as Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So like for Call of Duty, I get that they've made smaller tweaks to be like, oh, here's Black Ops, and then here's Modern Warfare, and here's Infinite Warfare, but they're still on the guise of Call of Duty. Like, it should just be Black Ops. It should just be Modern Warfare. The next one should be, I don't know. I don't say Infinite Warfare because they tried that and that was rough.
Right.
They just come up with something else, right? Like, the innovation should come with an idea of being in the market as a new player. Because if you are showing me a new Call of Duty as a first time player, I should not have, and if the idea is for them to innovate every single year, I should not, as a new player, have to deal with the people who enjoyed it last year. Like if you're making a new one and you're innovating every year, give me a new game. Like don't call it Call of Duty and then say that, oh, it doesn't matter, what we've done before. This is just, two new mechanics and here's a new game for $60-$70. Like to me that doesn't fly. Like come up with a new IP, make a new product, try in the space of, the capitalistic world we live in and fail or succeed, whichever one. Because Bungie could have failed with Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
They could have. They took a big risk, but these companies don't want to, and they're just using their original fan bases to line their pockets while they pick in a couple of new people each year. And that's where most of the problems come into. They're betraying the people who are loyally paying them while still trying to appease the new people to homogenize the gaming space, which is it's really just crazy to me that they get away with it every single year. Like adding in the Omni movement, I don't think is enough to justify a $70 price tag.
No, yeah.
It's not enough. No, that should be a $20 DLC. That's about it. And I know, like, I did the costing for Raven, and I got to see some, how stuff works under the hood, how to put these things together. And it's expensive to make a Call of Duty title. So I'm like, I get where the studio wants to get their money back. But if you're spending 2-4 years working on this and the player's biggest takeaway is Omni movement, like, what are we doing? As a consumer, as a developer, like, what is this relationship? Because 4 years for Omni movement makes no sense.
Listen, I think what they're doing is looking at what sports game they're doing and seeing how much money they're making with the minimal changes they do, and they're trying to get to that point. Because if you want to look at successful video game franchise, FIFA, I think, was one of the most successful in the last like five years at least, right?
At least 6 or 7.
On top every year.
Yeah.
Almost every year, it's like either Madden or FIFA who is at the top. Yeah.
And you have that way where like they don't really change much. You got new players, maybe new stats, new arenas if names have changed or arena looks have changed in the last year, right? And you're still making buckets. So I think any like, not necessarily on a developer level, but any CEO or those finance guys are looking at those games and thinking, how can we do that? How can we innovate as little as possible and get an insane amount of money in return?
I was going to say, especially when you have a franchise that's been long running like Call of Duty, where they're getting yearly releases, that's what they're trying.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they even do the 4-year cycles is crazy that they still do that, because you have a lot of games who don't have that. I like the fact that, you know, yes, we get one every year, but you know that game was worked on longer than a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you have other games that just come out and they haven't been worked on for longer than a year. They've been rushed, and you can tell they've been rushed.
I really wish, and I will say this to them days. I really wish Call of Duty's cycle was 2 years and not one. Like when the game is released, it takes 2 years for like the game to, you know, be played, and then new one comes out every 2 years.
New one comes out.
Not every year.
Yeah.
It's just exhausting knowing that you buy a game in November, you're gonna play it for like 9 months, and then they announce a new one. You don't care about the old one. I don't know. That's just for me.
It does suck, like getting really into a game for a year, and then the next one comes out and you're torn, because like you might like the features of the new one. Or even worse, if your friends start playing the new game and you're just like, fuck, well, if I want to play with them, then I have to get this new one.
Just out $70.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Honestly, and I say this, and people laughed at me before, Call of Duty would have been the perfect MMO.
Yeah.
It would have been the perfect MMO.
It's funny, but it makes sense. It does make sense.
I'm just saying, it would have, like, the format that Square Enix came up with for Final Fantasy 14 could work perfectly for Call of Duty, and no one would bat an eye. You got time to check on different features, implement different classes. You can go ahead and sell people skins. You can sell your campaign every single other year that they like to do anyway, and still maintain the same revenue while having a subscription service. If that was the idea for Call of Duty, I would have zero complaints.
I would just let them have fun. Yeah, do your thing, bro.
Exactly.
I might hop on occasionally, you know.
Exactly. Like I like those type of things still have to be like perplexed. Like whoever's up in the big office, like just do it. It's literally already a subscription. You're paying $60 a year, like at minimum.
Yeah. Right.
And they already kind of integrated like everything in like in just one Call of Duty like license title.
Launcher, anyways. Yeah, because you can still run it exactly the same. The only thing would be is you'd have the quote unquote expansions that add weapons, characters, and campaigns every 2 years or a year and a half. And like you can claim it's an MMO, but I mean, as long as it still has its functionality like Warzone multiplayer and stuff, they're not going to notice a difference.
No, not at all. And players will accept it as what it is. It's like, okay, they need to make money, and we're enjoying the game. We don't care what you do every single year, as long as we can keep playing it.
And then honestly, that's the best thing they could do, because I bet you there's a bunch of people that would be down to play more Warzone, or like let's say the multiplayer specifically, but don't want to pay for a new Call of Duty every year. They'll pay the subscription on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Yes, they will. Pretty much. And they already have those like some mini raid things that are in Warzone. Like literally, there you go. There are your dungeons. Like,
right.
You need better plates. Go kill those guys. You get the crazy plates. You get the perks. You get the new guns. Like
So
it's all there. It's all there.
It's all there.
So we're kind of bleeding into the monetization stuff. This is for Christian. So
yes,
I played Destiny 2 for a long time also.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in Destiny 2's life cycle, they was like, you know what? Let's charge for a dungeon. That was that was it.
That was the line.
That was the line. I don't understand Destiny 2 monetization system. Like you do a story and then you buy a season pass. Why do I have to buy a season pass just to do a story?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? That's the line for that, and buying for a dungeon was the line for me, and I just stopped the game.
I think it stems from the fact, like he was talking about earlier, the fact that they came from Halo and not from another MMO. Because I think they could have easily done what every other MMO does and just charge a monthly fee, right? And I think you would have felt fine with it, right? If you had a monthly fee.
If they labeled it as an MMO.
Yeah, and that's great. But here's the thing: when Destiny 1 came out, you would have a hard time finding another game that was in that genre. Like you maybe had like Borderlands, was kind of like an FPS MMO RPG type thing, right? So a lot of what they were doing, a lot of decisions they were making was just like, fuck, let's see if this works type of decision, right? I'm sure they did a lot more research than that, but I'm sure it was also a thing of like, we don't know how the player base is going to react because no one has done this yet. So it does suck that you have to pay for it, but I'll say this: I'm the worst person you can ask about that because all I ever do is
buys everything.
I get the pass that gives you everything. So I literally had no idea you even had to pay for dungeons until I had a friend that wanted to play with me, and he was like, "Oh, I don't have this dungeon." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't have this dungeon?"
Yeah,
like it's just here. So I'm the worst person to ask about that because I would just buy the season pass because I've done that since D1. I would go out of my way to pay for the season pass so that I don't have to think about it because I just want to play the game.
So how do you feel? So for me, I like a good story, obviously. Why do they need to pay for the season pass to get a story?
I think the way that I see it is games as a standalone system died a long time ago. Now you have games as a service. Games that and don't get me wrong, I love God of War, awesome game, right? And that's a single player game that you buy it, you play it, you're done, right? Game companies want games as a service so that you can keep paying money for it, and I think that's the better description of what Destiny is. It's not a game, it's a service. So you're paying for the game and then you're paying for the service of being able to keep playing that game because like it does suck to say it, but it's like if you don't want to pay, you don't have to. You can just keep playing the same game you've been playing up until that point.
My argument to that, right? Because you're right, especially Destiny. It's a live service game. They have to make money somehow for the constant support and things of that nature. Isn't that what the expansions are for?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like we have to buy the game, and then you have to buy $40-$60 for every expansion. Why to continue doing the story do I then have to buy a season pass on top of that? We're not having an argument with them like trying to make money. It's the way they're monetizing it.
Okay, so I think we're running into like a communication. So a season pass, at least the way that I'm referring to it, is where you buy. I'm talking about like the old season pass where you would buy the next 4 expansions. That's what the season pass is. Not talking about like the battle pass. That's a different thing.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about the battle pass.
Oh, okay. See, we were talking about 2 different things.
Well, the reason we thought it was a season pass because they label those sections as seasons.
That's also true.
Yeah, that's true, and they just changed that recently. I think that had a lot to do with it because now they're calling it episodes, not seasons.
Okay. So then we can change that to why did then to continue experiencing the solo experience because those are you can do all of them solo. Why do then I have to pay the battle pass to get those outside of the expansion that I'm already paying for? Because you have to pay for all the previous expansions to even play the current content.
Yeah.
That's my issue with it.
That's my biggest issue.
Like again, if the expansions are one thing, right? But that's MMOs in general. Like Final Fantasy, I had to do the exact same thing. I don't have any issues with buying those bigger expansions. It's more content. It gives you more shit. I know they're trying to make money. That's just the way it goes. I have no problem with it. My issue is then spending that $40 to $60, whatever that expansion costs, because some are more than others, and then having to then spend more money to continue playing solo to do that extra content.
14 charging for 7.1, 7.2, 7.3.
Like, again,
I don't know.
If they really want to make money, if they want to continue making money, quit charging for the battle pass and just go monthly. So
and the reason they don't do monthly is because you can't justify the content, right? So like if you're doing monthly, you have to have gone into that game knowing that it was a monthly game. You can't just change it over because at least for Destiny, the cycles for content are usually between 3 to 6 months.
Don't they take away content all the time?
They do. They do.
Oh, that's even worse.
Something
Jesus
funny.
Christ.
Something funny because somebody wanted to leave out ESO, I don't remember. I don't know which one y'all
That
was.
was
I
that
didn't
was
want to
me.
break that.
That was me.
I didn't want to say so. I will say this, and I will say this with all the with all my chest. ZeniMax to me has a very fantastic monetization model for the content
I can agree.
because getting the base game for cheap, like I think you literally get it for like 10 or 20 bucks.
It's like 20
10,
bucks, I
20
think.
bucks to hop in. And then you can subscribe to ESO Plus and play all the expansions. You can just play all of them. I mean, there is the chapter content you don't have access to, but that's different. So I'm like, I understand that's a very different concept. And it's like the chapters, I think if you get ESO Plus, it gives you a certain amount of like coins and stuff, and then later on you can actually purchase the things you want after you subscribe for long enough. But it's like Bungie could easily have followed that concept, and like they watched ZeniMax fail because ZeniMax I think launched ESO the same year. Yeah, they launched ESO the first time the same year that Destiny 1 came out. So like they've had a couple of blueprints to look at, even Warframe, that they've had plenty of people to check out. They're just like, how do we follow? Because I think they got published by Activision first.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's published by Activision, and
For
then
Destiny 2,
Yeah.
for Destiny,
Destiny
2, yeah,
2.
not for Destiny 1. They
were on their own.
They were under PlayStation.
Oh, was
for
it
a
under
while.
PlayStation?
Mhm.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Were they?
that's what. Yeah, so for Destiny 1, they had a partnership with PlayStation, which is why PlayStation players got exclusive maps, weapons, and like
I remember that. Yeah, you're right. And they got a
a
raid.
bunch of stuff. Yeah, and a raid. Yeah, that's right.
They got the Vault of
And then
Glass.
yeah, and then for Destiny 2, since they were doing PC for the beginning of it, I think that's when they started their partnership with Activision, or like Activision bought them, I think, and then they bought themselves out afterwards.
No, they didn't buy in. They had like a 10-year agreement
Yeah.
Okay.
that we see. Well, yeah.
That went through.
And then,
Oh
I know
no,
they-
Activision did publish Destiny 1. Yeah, it's on the
Oh,
box
okay.
art.
Okay.
Yeah. I was about to say, hold up, wait. Yeah, no, they got out of the deal for Destiny 2, I think, within the first season, and then after that, they got to switch it up.
Mhm.
The thing with Activision, I know, like, I think they tried to follow the same cadence as the way Call of Duty does certain things, so how they sell seasons and stuff like that. So I think that's how Bungie was trying to follow. But once they broke off, and it's just me spitballing, I'm pretty, and based off me watching them do different financial decisions here, I'm pretty sure they found out there's a reason that the monetization was set up the way it was before they went on their own. But now you're on your own, you no longer have the publishing money. Now you got to get aggressive with your monetization because you're already behind because you don't have the cushion of your publisher. So I don't know if their setup right now is just a culmination of whatever they had to do to stay afloat. Because even right now, they still laying people off.
Mhm.
I'm like, I can't even justify them just trying to stay afloat as a company with a live service. I think they just don't know what to do with their money.
No, I think it's definitely a problem that's like starts at the top, right? Because like
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
we it's not us like trying to shit on the developers for like, why don't you just do this? No, like
Yeah,
clearly
a lot of their
the
choices
decisions
aren't even,
that like the decisions that we're arguing about come from the
higher
top,
up.
right?
Yeah.
higher
Yeah,
up.
Way higher.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So
don't get me
it-
wrong, Destiny plays, looks, and even the story has gotten a lot better recently. It looks great. It plays great. I wish I could keep playing it, but it requires a lot of time because it is still a grind. But I hate the monetization. I hate having to buy the expansion and then all these battle passes to keep
Yeah.
getting this content, and I can't justify it.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
That's why I just buy the fucking season pass, like the actual season pass. At the beginning of every expansion, they have a season pass, and it has literally everything that I don't have to worry about for the next like 2 years. And then whenever the next big one comes out, that's when I buy another one.
How much is that?
Oh well, I buy it, through those websites, and it's only ever like, I think the most I've ever spent on it was $75, and I do that once every 2 years.
So is it the expansion and then those $75?
$75 total for everything.
Okay.
And that was the
Honestly,
most. On average, I probably pay around 50 to 60.
I would say if that was like their actual price model for this entire
Mhm.
thing,
That would have been
less
fine.
people would have them.
Yeah, no, because
Yeah.
I think the regular price is
Like-
$100 for like the ultimate edition that
Yeah,
has
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
which is
where I
insane.
definitely have more of a problem with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, $100. Like, bro, that's like you can get Baldur's Gate and you can get The Witcher 3. Yeah, you can get the Baldur's Gate and The Witcher 3 for that cost.
Or you can
Like,
get Baldur's Gate and you can get Baldur's Gate in the new expansion for Final Fantasy.
Oh no, we don't talk about Final Fantasy.
No.
Oh my god.
I don't need to hear
Wait,
this from the Destiny and ESO players. I won't take this.
Is that right?
Oh my god.
All this slander. Get out of here.
Both games play better than Final Fantasy, but I understand.
Yeah.
Destiny, sure, but not ESO.
Oh my god. You know what? One day we'll have a conversation of the beef with ESO here, but
Okay, and you know, my
Okay.
beef with
Yeah,
it
we can
is
do an entire MMO topic if
Hey,
you want.
hold on.
I got it lined up. I'm ready whenever.
Look, we just got.
Alec,
Look, all we gotta do is
quick.
find the WoW player and the Guilds War 2 player. You know.
Yeah,
That's
we
true.
got that. I know where they
you
are.
can't bring a WoW player. You can't bring a WoW player.
They're delusional.
Our ecosystem, though. What are you talking
They're
about?
delusional. They're more
No,
delusional
they're
than the rest of us.
delusional, like-
I want to hear the delusional.
All right, so Chris, what were you
Hey,
saying?
Give me Leroy Jenkins on the
real
line.
quick, how long have we been going? Because I got something else I want to talk about real quick.
Oh, an hour and 15, hour 20. You can keep
Okay.
going. You're good.
Okay, this is just like last topic, real quick. What
Mhm.
are y'all's thoughts on the monetization of cosmetic items in Call of Duty, specifically Call of Duty? Like, what
Fucking
are your
outrageous.
thoughts behind it? Because I know I have some opinions, but I want to hear your opinions.
There is no
Okay,
reason. Why is Nicki Minaj?
$40.
Why is Cody Rhodes? Why is Ghostface? Why is Rhea Ripley? Sly canceling 360. This I hate.
No.
That's another big reason
No.
why I stopped playing Call of Duty. I
That's-
can't stand these customizations.
No,
I
the
can't stand
cosmetics themselves are fine. I don't mind it. Why am I spending $30 to $40 for a skin and some weapon skins, maybe one or
Yeah.
two, and like a little badge? That's how much that shit is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also ridiculous. I want to play Call of Duty. I don't want to play Fortnite.
So I'm a little different in the conversation because I'm
Oh.
understanding this from different points.
No, like
No,
I
I'm-
understand why those, like, you know, I get the monetization behind those IP related ones because obviously they kind of have to cover the expensive likeness and stuff like that. But the problem with my monetization and why I'm calling those out specifically, but just because I'm using Call of Duty as in general, because even when it's
Mhm.
not IP related and it's their own IP stuff, it's still $30.
it's still there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I will say this. As far as what goes into that, I think they would do better just doing bundles for $30.
Hmm.
I think if they sold the same skins, but they did bundles and
Like
they gave you like
three, four.
3 or 4 of them, depending
People will
on like whether
happily
it's
buy $30.
people will happily buy them. And I think they would still maintain, and they probably actually might make more money if
probably
they would do that.
More people would do it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
people will see value. It's like a value pack. But obviously, you know, they can say like, oh, you know, if it's non-IP related, $30. If it's an IP related, then it might be 40. And if you
Right.
do that small uptick, you can still cover the licensing fees, all the other stuff. And, you know, I think more people will be satisfied. The issue comes down to, though, when they do the separate, when they mess up the continuity of the cosmetics. So like
Yeah.
if somebody's like, oh, I want the what's that one character, the Templar, they came over the Templar character. It's like, yo, I want that Templar character, but I want the gun from the Raptor pack.
Yeah.
But they're just
You'd
separate. And
have
they're
to
like,
spend $50 to get both.
I
to get both.
I,
And it's like, yeah.
I think you run into the other thing where it's like we have to stop thinking about it like, well, why don't these game companies just do this because it makes more sense? The answer to that 98% of the time is probably going to be because it doesn't make as much money as doing the other thing. It does make more sense. It makes more sense to do the packs like you're talking about. It 100%
Yeah.
makes more sense. You probably would get some sales, but I guarantee you there's plenty of people in their like finance department that did the stats, did the research, did the simulations to see how much you would lose, how much you would gain, and they decided that it wasn't worth going down that avenue where you can where instead you can now that exact person in that scenario is more than likely gonna pay for both of those packs because they want that combination.
I always tell the Quan. I always tell the Quan. I don't spend a dime on Call of Duty unless there's Ghost involved.
Oh my god, it's childish. So the funny part about that is, like, my role specifically in operations was to understand the costing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave that ambiguous. But
yeah, keep it safe, player. Keep it safe.
When I say I believe they would make more money doing bundles, I firmly believe they would make more money doing bundles.
Yep.
Like, to me, there's the idea of the consumer trend for how much like expendable income your largest audience is going to have. And granted that for the US, less people have money right now, you are less likely to get individual sales. So like, even when it comes down to expansions, that's why people bundle expansions. It's like, yeah, it's going to be better for your buck if we bundle. But for COD, if they keep doing the individuals, not only will they lose out on the licensing costs because they're paying people to get their likeness to do these things, but if folks don't have enough money to purchase them, they're going to get the cheaper skins because those are also the more expensive ones. So it's like, do you want to pay $49 to look like Snoop Dogg and X, Y, and Z? Or are you going to pay $19 to look like this weirdo that we came up with? They're going to choose the weirdo because they don't have the money for Snoop. So it's like, if they bundle and meet in the middle, they can eat some of that cost and still be fine. But yeah, I don't know. The monetization is always weird to me because I've seen people sit down and talk and go back and forth in Slack about like smaller things. And when I look at like the bigger picture that I was able to get a better understanding of, I'm like, I really wonder like how much this is like fully thought out at each level. Like I feel like somebody missed a process to where it's like maybe not.
Well, yeah, there has to be some disconnect there when you're talking about people who are making like on average 6 figures. Looking at like, well, what can the average person spend? And like, it's that scene from Arrested Development. Like, how much does a banana cost? You know, they don't. They there's definitely some level of disconnect there when it comes to like pricing and like why they do the decisions that they make.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just confused, granted, how much money these studios have and the resources. It's just, and like the amount of stuff they have available to answer questions.
You know, it's also wild that I just remembered. A lot of those skins, if you don't own the character, even after paying money, you still can't use it.
Yeah, you still can't use them. It's just, it's insane.
The character's not included.
Exactly, which is the thing where I'm like, I feel like there's a disconnect to some of these conversations because if you really want people to purchase something, they should give them something they already own. Because obviously they like to play the thing. Like, oh, you play price. We got the analytics on how many people play this and play that. We should make a skin for that character, obviously, because they play it. But if you're like, oh, we're going to get a skin for a character no one plays, so you need to then go ahead and unlock her. It's like, where is the thought process? Like, make it simple. Like, you're already playing it.
Making it simple. That's too hard, dude.
That makes too much sense.
I guess. And that's the funny part too. A lot of people in business, they think the thing that makes sense is too easy. It's like, no, it literally makes sense. Like it's right there.
Yeah, it's there. Do it. You just have to do it. But you know, it gets lost somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's like, no, I want to get credit for this, so I'm going to go ahead and say we should do this, and then if it works out, I get credit for it, which is stupid.
It is wild.
Oh yeah.
And it's also, that would get you guys riled up. I wanted to say that towards the end.
Yeah.
It's a point of contention, and if it wasn't for that stupid horse armor, we wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
You are correct. Good old Todd Howard and his jokes.
Yep.
That's your homeboy, right?
Again, I appreciate Todd Howard.
He didn't say no.
Look, I don't know him. You know, if I could get a chance to say hello, I think it'll be fine. But yeah, no, I can appreciate Todd Howard. The designs for Skyrim has definitely influenced like the majority of games we have today. So I can appreciate him. I'll just say that. But
Right.
I don't know about Fallout 76. I appreciate the innovation and like the attempt. But
The show's good.
The show's
the show's
good.
The show is good.
The
That's
show
the only
is
thing I can say about Fallout right now. The show is good.
Oh my god! You haven't played Fallout 4? Like that was good.
Fallout 4 was
I feel
good.
Like 15 minutes of Fallout 4. No.
It actually is good. The DLC is really good too.
Nah.
They are, and the mods. They have a
The
new
mods
mod.
are fantastic. Mod managing.
London.
Stop.
Yeah, gotta give it a go. That's all I'm saying. It's good.
I mean, I'm
It's
just saying Fallout New Vegas is sitting right there. You goes on sale all the time for like $4. It's crazy.
good.
Let me catch up with my backlog.
Mods made it look good.
And we'll think about it.
Fallout 3 is
Your
wild.
backlog. Are there any good games in your backlog? Like, what do you have going on?
Is too much right now, dude.
It's too much.
I still need to play Shin Megami Tensei 5.
I haven't played that
Honestly,
either.
I'd imagine Jeremy's backlog is nothing but every Final Fantasy game with the infinity sign next to it. Like,
Just keep going back and playing
I
them.
played them all, sir. Let me rephrase. I played all the mainline titles.
Yes.
oh,
Yes,
I see.
except with the exception of 11.
Well, obviously,
Don't
it's
you like
a MMO. It's a MMO.
I wish 11 had like an offline version. If it did, I will be playing it right now. But
It's an MMO, and I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm playing through all of them, and I'm on 8 right now. So,
but yeah, this FPS topic can go on for hours, I'm sure.
Yes, 100%.
But
unfortunately,
we want to close it down and probably
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
all right. So we'll go ahead and just like every episode, we're gonna talk about what we enjoyed this week, what we've been working on, etc. So, Jeremy, start us off. What do you got?
Nothing really new for me. The same old reading the book, playing Final Fantasy, getting ready for Labor Day tomorrow, which is
yes.
gonna be.
You gonna barbecue?
Yeah, I'm gonna grill some pork belly burn-ins for my coworker, bring him to his house and chill.
Nice.
I'm gonna go to HEB and buy some onions because I'm gonna try and make French onion dip for the first time.
Okay.
Oh,
Hopefully that's
I
gonna
see.
be good.
We'll see
You
how
wanna come
that
over,
goes.
Quan? Gonna hop on the plane, fly over?
I mean, I would, but let me tell you, it's we got some things to handle. Over the next couple of days.
All right, Chris, what have you been doing?
I've been listening to Service Model. It's a book by the same people that did what was it? Adrian Cheskosky. He did another series where it's like a sarcastic robot.
Okay.
It's funny, and it has like an element of mystery to it that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I've just been listening to that, and that's about it, really. Jen and I played It Takes Two.
Oh yeah.
That's a great game.
Yeah. We got. I think we're halfway through it.
you
But
like
yeah,
the
it's
book?
fantastic. I'm sorry.
Do you like the book?
Oh yeah. For what?
He's talking about It Takes Two, the super
I didn't know
somewhat
that was a book.
stereotypical racist book.
Oh no, I had no idea.
Okay.
You just haven't hit it
Yeah,
yet.
I didn't know. No, I just I think that's what it's called, the game, but it's great.
Wait,
Okay.
you haven't seen the? Hold on.
I thought it happened early on.
Yeah, it
Which
happens
one?
early on.
Oh, the book. Oh, you're talking about like the literal book. I thought you were talking about a book. I thought you were talking about a book named It Takes Two. No, I don't like the book. I think it's insane.
Yes, it is
I
wild.
hate it. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, no, I don't like him.
Yeah,
You know when
Also,
we're-
feels a little bit racist.
It is very racist.
But
Alright,
yeah,
what about you?
that's what we've been up to.
What about you, Dick One?
For me, oh wow, that's insane. I just saw I just saw the book. Oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, it's
that
as
is-
I said, it's wild.
Yeah.
The fact that made it across in today's
Yeah.
age is crazy.
Yeah, it's a little different right now. For me, I went ahead and applied to a college, trying to do some school stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to get my degree for engineering physics or applied physics. So I went ahead and
Okay,
applied
that's
for
really
that.
cool.
Games, I am playing For Honor. I hate the monetization, but the gameplay to me
The
is
game is
just,
so much fun. It's so much fun.
it's just
I hate it
fantastic. I hate it.
because I've been playing the quote unquote playing the games. Hey, I got it with my graphics card when it came out. It like came bundled, and I've been here and then coming in and checking out like new updates. I was like, fuck, this game feels good, but I can't.
Pretty much. And then I started watching Rings of Power.
How is that?
I'm on episode 2, so I'm watching episode 2 after this. But the first episode was
Just as bad as the first one?
I don't know where they're trying to go with this. I'll say that. Like I kind of get it, but I don't know. Maybe it ramps up. We'll see. They put a lot in the first episode, and I'm hoping the next one is more explanatory, I guess.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and still working on the game.
Awesome. Okay. For me, it's been just basic stuff, work, Final Fantasy. Picked up, still playing through King of Fighters. Played Jeremy yesterday. That was uninformative.
That was fun, I tell you. You got tossed around.
Shit's so annoying. God, I hate Dinosaur.
Super smash.
And I'm still playing through Final Fantasy 8. I have opinions on that game. We'll wait till I'm done because God, do I hate it so far. And it's not even the game. I actually really like the game, the music, the presentation, how combat feels, and the story. It's everything else. It's the junction system and the draw system. It's the dumbest system I've ever fucking encountered in my life in a fucking RPG.
I'm just gonna shake my head. That's all.
Fucking Final Fantasy 8 Defender.
You goddamn right.
The game is good. Fucking wish the system. It's just like Final Fantasy 2. Final Fantasy 2 story is actually not that bad and it's perfectly fine. But the leveling system and the key item system, keyword system, God, what were they fucking thinking? And that's how I feel about Final Fantasy 8. That is bad. So yeah, that's we'll leave that for whenever we go to that topic again. Who knows when? But that'll be it for today. Thanks for tuning in this week. A very heated and argumentative episode, if anything. Any final words or impressions? Final words, goodbyes, anything?
Nope.
Everybody have a great week.
Yeah, enjoy the 3-day weekend.
All
that
right.
you will not have when this comes out, but everyone else.
It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in this week. See you again next week.
Real quick, Quan, thanks for coming by. 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. You're right.
Yeah.
I appreciate the invite. This is fun.
So I'm sure we'll bring you back on another time.
Yeah, ESO, we'll return.
Maybe more topic.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
All right, guys.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. See you guys next week.
All right, peace.